Okay, so we are gonna do brute force attack today. I chose to use Kali because it's just easier. There are other tools that you can use for brute force, but I previously, when I taught this class last semester, I used Kane, as I mentioned to you before. That is a Windows friendly application. There is also Kane for Linux. So, you can refer to that video. You can also refer to the online. It's harder to find the downloads, and you have to turn off your antivirus software and firewall in order to run it because it is considered a threat. So it's a little bit more risky, and I just didn't want to deal with not able to download and be more sufficient. So we're gonna do something that is a little bit more recent instead of using K-enable. So download your Kali Linux. I have mine in the downloads folder. It should show up with the zipped or compressed. We simply right click just like before, show more options, go to 7-zip, extract files. Now, unlike before, you shouldn't double click the blue file in the unzip folder because it's going to load your virtual machine, and we want to give it a little bit more RAM and processor. Okay, so here I had put down the download part, the extraction part, but in step 5, we're going to open up your virtual box, and if you just search for Oracle, you can find the application and click on it. Now, to add it to your application or your playlist on the virtual box, you simply click the plus sign. So I'm at step 6. Click add right here. And as you do that, you are going to browse to your downloads folder or wherever you extracted your virtual machine. Open that up. Open up its subfolder and put the VBox file. So select that. So at this point, we are going to change the settings. Go to System. So I'm going to click on Settings and then System. And you need to do this while machine is off. And we're going to give it 8,000 meg. 8,000 meg is going to be equivalent to close to 8 gig. So that's gonna, Windows OS needs about 3.9 gig to operate. And then the rest you can use it for applications. So it is a little bit faster, but for Linux OS, it's a little bit less than 3-point-something gig. So it's definitely doable with 8 gig. Your processor, we're going to go ahead and make it 4. For 4-core, there are 16 in this computer. So depending on your PC. We're going to click OK, and we're going to click Start. So it's going to power up after we had changed the settings, and I had put down the step 6 and step 7 for you to do that. And then 9 is to change the processor and to start. Now, of course, if you run this particular application, let's say that you have a system and you install Kali Linux on it and you run it with, more than 4-core, 8-core, 12-core, of course, it's going to perform better and faster, right? So if it's crawling slow, it's because the resources is not there. So you want to check to make sure that your processor and RAM is adequate for the type of attacks that you're going to be doing as a pen tester. So now we're going to log in. So I want you to pay attention to, now we don't have to do an upgrade. Sorry about that. I know some of you are waiting for it. But if you do the distro upgrade, it is helpful in the long run, especially if you're doing things like Burp Suite, Metasploit, stuff like that, where it requires more modern development as they are regularly upgraded. So The difference between update and upgrade is the OS itself mostly, and then the packages for like Python and so on, for this part. And then for the updates is mostly your software. So throughout, if you install a lot of different software, I normally would pause and do another update in the case that it needs additional updates down the line or in a few days. Okay. So here is my Kali VM. And we can do sudo apt update. And I'll do the upgrade with you, right? But you don't have to do the upgrade if you want to save time. It doesn't take too long. Depending on the network also. So after I put in this command as an entire command, you can use the operators. The double ampersand is the and to combine two commands together. Now, when you do the app distro upgrade, this is gonna give you, it's already pushed with the distro upgrade here, but it's gonna try to look at your Python, and so on. So it's gonna tell you, this part is really quick. We are going to install Damn Vulnerable Web App. This is a type of platform that you can use to practice. It's perfect for cross-site scripting, brute forcing. It's a web application that's built with less security or little security. You can, so we'll start with brute force today with it. So simply we enable the services for the web server, and they already wrote the code for you to have all the buttons and things like a real web app, but it is running on less security. So it's not on HTTPS. Now your browser is going to try to convert things to 443 or forward it to something more secure. But you can always use it for attack. So what we're doing is we're setting up our system as a victim, and we're also using it as a second role as an attacker. Ideally, this would be a test environment where you would have one system or one virtual machine as a victim and another virtual machine as the attack, right? My ethical hacking class, they would use their Windows as a victim and then their Kali Linux as the attacker. And you can do vice versa. You can have a Linux as a target web server, which is easy to set up. You just run Apache and then maybe install PHP if you want something more like with the login and so on. So with Linux, you would see on the DVWA, when the user log in, it's going to run PHP code. So you can see that with the PHP file. And with that, you can also capture the session like what I showed you before. When you look at the browser, go to the developer's view. Okay. So after we install DVWA, if it's not already there, I think Kali is equipped with it. So this might not even need to be ran. And then you would do a start. Now, if you're using Ubuntu or other Debian like Raspberry Pi, you need to install the packages accordingly. So you can also have Kali for IoT or ARM. They wrote a version for the ARM, so you can run it on Raspberry Pi as well. Okay, you've seen it on their website, I'm sure. Okay. So here I show you how you can look at your web developers tool, and then you can take a look at the brute force option for the DVWA. So at home, if you want to practice on Kali, you can install this package and then be able to do that. Okay. So I'm going to tell you the steps are really quick. This part and the brute force part just takes time, right? Today, in the second section in Hydra and fuzzing, when you brute force, it's going to tell you 52, 53 minutes. It's going to be an estimate close to real time. Remember that you're using software on top of software. or 53 hours, right? So if it says 53 hours, I'm not going to expect you to finish the full scan. But just keep in mind that if you have a more powerful machine, it is a little bit less in time. And also, how far is your target, right? How easy it is to get to your target. So you have to really look at how you are going to reach the target based on this. Okay. So once we start this, we're going to use Hydra. The cool thing about Hydra is it is supported, or it's supporting a lot of different type of system. So if you want to use it against your Cisco appliances, which is very common, that those are the first few systems that you're going to see in the network, we're going to use it for HTTP form get today. So when you enter your username and password onto a form, a login screen, for a web application, it's a post, right? But it needs to give you the page so that way you can log in. So you're using HTTP form get. And then HTTP form post. Now, if you're just visiting the site, like I'm opening a web page like google.com, it is a get, right? So there are many different options that you can see. You can also attack POP3 based type of environment, database, right? Remote RDP. This is Windows Remote Access Protocol, Remote Desktop Protocol. And then you would have like other options here. SMB, SMTP for email. There's so many things. Or even with VMware type of, so VMware is a virtualized type of application or product. They have from server for virtualization all the way to your player and desktop, very similar to VirtualBox. Okay. And then other areas here. But remember that when you're using these tools, you need to be at the highest privilege. So earlier when you looked at the model, it says that you need to access, right? And you need to execute things. Well, in order to execute things, you have to have escalation of privilege. You need to be root. You need to be admin. So I put down some steps on how you can also obtain password lists. There is a package that is from Git that you can get that's called wordlists. Callie already has that, right? I'm just the later step that you're gonna see, I just show you how you can extract one of the word lists. But Kali Linux is already equipped with word lists. So if you're using other versions of Debian or other Linux, you can either use wget or you can use a git command to pull word lists from Git. So SecList or SecTool people, right, group of security professional, they build out some of the tools and they share some of the tools. They also maintain some of the tools, including Kali Linux group. So what you see is that they have created a folder that they put available via Git that has all the word lists that you can use for dictionary attack and also brute forcing, right? A dictionary attack is just simply using simple lists or simple words and then be able to enumerate through those. Right. And you can always make your own as well. Right, some application comes with a default common word list. You would see some of that later on with Fuzz. I'm at 93, so I'm almost done. And then we'll move on to the next step. You can go ahead and proceed. If you have questions, let me know. And then when we're done, we'll just do attendance and then go home. So if you enjoy doing this, right, if you find this really intriguing and you want more, you should look into ethical hacking and or pen testing. This is what you can do for a living. You can be externally contracted to come in and attack the network and find out issues, or you can internally be hired as an analyst or, you know, someone from within, or you can become an auditor and be able to do this. If you don't enjoy doing this, right, you can always be on the blue team side where you can protect the network, but you need to know how to test the network. Okay, so it's always good to have a good knowledge. Now, Kali Linux has a certification called Offensive Security. There are levels in it, but you should, if you like using Kali Linux tools and know it well and practice on it, which I regularly use for a lot of different security classes, you should consider taking Offensive Security certification. They're not that expensive. Between 200 and some of them can go up to a few $100s, but it's always good to have that if you are going to become an ethical hacker. So when you're using Hydra, if you're a fan of Mr. Robot, if you've seen the show, right, they did use Hydra on the show. They also use fuzzing on the show. It's consulted by real security professionals. So there are episodes that they use Kali. So you would see some of that. Okay. Where am I at? Okay, I'm here. So I did the upgrade. Let me do the distro upgrade, which shouldn't take too long. And then I'm going to install damn vulnerable web app. And we put the Y in there so that way we don't have to type in yes at the end. And then once I install it, I just simply use the start command with DVWA. And it's going to ask you for your Kali Linux login password. So once it starts, it's going to look like this. Now, notice this is really important. Look at your IP address at the top, because I'm hosting it locally. So it's going to give me the loopback address, and after the colon is your port. Okay. So because we don't have a DNS, this is going to run on our local machine. Now, ideally, if you have a web application, you need to have a domain and you need to have a web server. So that can be running on a computer, a very powerful computer or a medium computer. As long as it can be reached by the external, or by public requests or requests in general, your clients. So once I start it, I should see the DVWA. Then once I do that, I would be able to view the developer tools like I've talked to you guys about. So you can go here, and then you can go to more tools, and then you can go to web developers tool. You can change this pane by pulling it up. And now if you click on, while you have this open, if you click on the login, which is brute force, it's going to give you this. You can just pretend to log in. Right? I tell you to have admin, which we don't know what the password is. Right? We're going to try to brute force it. That's our goal today. So let's say that we're the attacker, we're coming in. We are looking for a way to log into this not very secure website. Now, as you click this, you notice that it updates it down here. And I have to reload this. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Did I put down network? So if you click the network tab right here, you have to click the network tab. It's going to give you the entries. Okay. So the first one was to give you the page where you see the login page, which is get. But once we type in, we would then post, right? We give it data. It's going to post the data with the credential, which is false. but it's still gonna do a post. So you gotta click the network tab to see that. And so with that, you would see the file that we would use for, because it's running locally. And so if you have a domain information, it would list it over here, domain, and then the file that it's serving. Okay. And then on the right hand side, you can go to the cookies. It gives you the session ID right there. You just click the cookies tab on the right side. So here it tells me that my security is impossible. So all of these things can be plugged into the application like Hydra, because Hydra actually is designed to pull, right? You can feed it all of this information. So if you want to perform session hijacking and other things with some of the tools, you just need to find the session ID. Okay. Even though we don't really have a trusted session, but we can have a session information. You can do the scan too. So I want to show you that. So I need to fix this. Take a screenshot. So we need to click network tab. And then click the cookie. You have it backwards. It's DVWA-start. Maybe when you copy and paste, you switch it around. It should be DVWA-start. For step 15? Okay. It's DVWA-start. Start. Oh, wow. Yeah, you have it backwards. Other questions? Okay, so when you look at your virtual machine, right? After you have started it. Okay, so let me go back. Once I start this, oops, it's gonna load, it's gonna ask me for the password, and it's gonna load the browser. Then I can go to my ellipse here for my settings, go to more tools, and then go to web developers tool. It's gonna open up this pane, and then once you click brute force, it's gonna update, right? It's gonna update the information. Now, if you want to see, make sure we click the network tab. It's gonna show you the get and the post. I forgot to include that. Network tab. And then we are going to type in admin. Now we're gonna do a post. Admin. And click login. So as you do that, it's gonna update that now, right? So we went from a get to a post. We're not gonna save. And then you can also, so here I have my network information. You can do a split console, then you can also do cookies, but we can change the view however you feel that's decent. Okay, so look at the cookies information, and then you should be able to answer this. Okay, then we can close this, and then we can restart our DVWA again. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is once we have filled out the information or find the session ID and the cookie information, we're gonna restart our DVWA, because when you type in the wrong password, it's gonna load the blank page anyways. So after that, we're gonna use Hydra, and in order to run Hydra, we should upgrade to root user. So sudo su, and then you're on as root. Now, Hydra is already installed on Kali, but if you want to install Hydra, you just do sudo app install Hydra, but Hydra comes equipped. And you can also navigate to it. You click the dragon button, and then you would go to password attacks, and all the password attacks are listed there. And Hydra is one of them. Okay. And then your word list is already installed here. So if you want to see that package or the content of that, you can also find word lists. That's useful for like dictionary attack. Okay. So now you can do online and offline attack and then pass the hash. We talked about that. So there are tools for pass the hash. Many. Okay. And then you can also do profiling with the word lists. Okay, so we are now at step 21. We are going to get another or build another CSV based word list, right? I like to get some of the fresher word lists because, you know, that change. So it tells me that the word list is located here and it is CSV file, right? Comma separated. This is gonna give me additional word lists compared to what I already installed or what Kali had. So by default, my password list is gonna store here, right? So I want you to record where it's stored so you can find it again. If you can also run this as a Kali as a user, you don't have to run it as root, and it will just put it into the user folder or directory. So we created or we generated using the DPL for Hydra refresh, and we created a refresh default password list. It tells you how many entries, like 1,000 something. Then because word list package has already been installed or downloaded, you have access to it. And it's under USR share. So I want you to identify some of the word lists that you can use for your attack. So if you run the next command, you're able to see, right? Here's one for Metasploit. If you're using John, the Ripper, right? You would use this because there are certain specific ones, but a lot of them are text based. Simply just a text file with a bunch of different words that's added. And then wfuzz. So if you're using a certain application that comes with a word list, you can also add. So when you run ls, that means a list. And what we're going to do is we're going to list the content of the directory word list under share USR. And this is what Kali had already added for you, but you can do a sudo app install word list and it wouldn't be there after you download. Now, if you notice that RockU, which is very popular type of word list, it is a text file, but it is a zip file or a compressed file. How do I know? Well, I know GZ for Linux is a compressed file format. So now I have to extract it. And it also shows in red. So to extract or to use gzip, you would then just need, well, if you're on Kali user, you would then need to do a sudo. But with this, you just need to run gzip. Wait, I should make this. Is it already extracted? gzip usr share word list rocku.txt. Tells me that it's unchanged. Change message file directory. Questions or concern? We good? Yeah, we have to get this extracted. I'm sorry? Rocku is not on the list? It's red. It's zipped. So you have to extract it. I tested this and it should be. We try it again. Gzip. Rocku. Yeah, it already has the GZ. Let me see, I'm missing something from the command. Oh, sorry. Add a dash D for decompress. So we need to do a dash D for the option here for step 23. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck with 24. Dash D for decompress. I forgot. I was doing it on one laptop and then adding it, writing the instruction on my other laptop, and then it's just it was late. Sorry. Okay, so make sure that we change step 23. Make sure we do a dash D for decompress. So once you decompress, you can do an ls again. Okay. So I added the option dash D. And then if I do the ls again, I should be able to see it as a text file. You see that? It's no longer red. It decompressed. Because if you don't decompress it, you cannot use it. Okay? So don't forget for step 23, make sure we add the option D, a lowercase d for decompress. Because in 24, we're going to implement it. We're going to use it to brute force our own system, right? We're going to brute force that web application that we install. And so when you run Hydra here, Hydra is already installed. The lowercase l allows you to plug in the account, the user name that you want. If you're using an uppercase L, it's going to allow you to implement a username list. So let's say that I have a list of a bunch of different usernames because I want to automate this. I don't want to sit there and run a command per user. So I would then use an uppercase L, and I simply would point to where that username list is located. Then you would use the capital P here. This is going to allow you to plug in the passwords from a list. Okay. If you use a lowercase p, then that simply is just a single password. For example, admin as or password as a password, you would use another option there. But if you use the uppercase in Hydra, usually that refers to a container, a larger container, a list, right? So a capital L or a capital P. So here I'm using a capital P, which entails a file that contain a bunch of passwords. P is for password. Then your target IP, and then the service that you want to do on that IP address or that target. So earlier you saw a bunch of different things that we can use Hydra for. So this is one of the service that we can use Hydra for, right? Post. So when you type in a password onto a form, it is an HTTP post form. Okay. Then here, if you have a domain, you need to put in your domain. And in our case, we have to use what's there, right? DVWA is our product. And then the extension of our domain or our local system. So when you click on brute force, it's going to give you this full URL and the index page. So if you want to brute force a form online, a web application, you need to make sure that you have the full path with the domain name. For example, like so-and-so.com, right? Login page, right? Because the way that they develop, it's really depends on the web developer. And then they would have some kind of file like index or something like that. So you got to make sure you put in the full path. Then this is where the field that you want it to plug in, right? The user. So how do I want to make sure that it is matching? If you go back and you start your, I think this is still here, right? If you start this, you can see, right? If you click on brute force, right? It gives me the full path here in addition to my port. But you got to make sure that, you know, the user account, and sometimes you have to make sure that it matches so it knows the field to put in. Okay. So for the user field and the password field, you just need to, it's going to extract from the list of the password and plug it in. And the user, it's going to pull it from here. Now the port, you simply attach it to a lowercase s. So if it uses port 8080, you put S8080. In this case, we're using port 42001. How do I know? I look at the URL bar and it's after the colon here, that's the port. Without that port, this will not work. It will just tell you that it cannot connect. Okay. Are we okay? Yep. So I want you to see, right? Because people say, oh, just brute force it real quick. There's no brute force real quick. Brute force takes time. It's true. Yeah, so you created a list and that's where it's located. Make sure you look at the path where it's stored. You see it in the file name, CSV? You know what a file path looks like? Right there. That's where your cursor was. Where it start with root. Where it start with root. The whole thing. Root just means that it's in the root user folder, and then the slash just indicates it separates each folder. Yeah. So a folder inside a folder. Okay, so you can wait for this for a little bit, right? So we would turn this on if you want to brute force turn it on for hours. But like I said, And it will give you the updates in the status. When you have a faster system, it's gonna have faster enumeration. That means that you're gonna have more tries per minute. Because the way the program is written, it's gonna loop through, right? It's gonna run each process per cycle. So how many processes can you run? Well, it depends on your processor. This is actually a parallel type of program written in Python. That means it's already fast. But if we want it faster, we got to give it processor core and RAM. Okay. So, and it tells you how long, right? I ran this multiple times to test your lab, and it's always roughly, right, on the virtual machine like this with 4 core and 8 gig of RAM. It's gonna run roughly 52 to 53 hours. Okay. So if you're hired to do this, and if you're using a virtual machine this low, then you should expect that amount of time, 53 hours. How many days in a week is that, right? But if you want more of a powerful system, you would get a gaming laptop, run, the tool on it, and then be able to get a faster result, right? Okay. So let it update a couple of times so you can see, I left mine on for like about 10 minutes before, and it updates a few times. Okay, so take a screenshot, put down how many tries were made. I won't expect you to wait 53 hours for this lab, but at the end, after a little bit of time, you can put down how many tries. How can I see that? Go back to your terminal. It's going to tell you, see, it already updated the tries. So between 4,453 to 4,500, it increases by 100, roughly about a few minutes. So this is still a pretty slow machine. And then it tells you how many tries per minute here or per hour. Okay, and how many hours and how many are active. Okay. The cool thing about parallel processes application is it's able to use the core simultaneously, right? Instead of releasing the thread and then go. So it's definitely an ideal type of application, but it's still gonna require wait. And then how many hours are estimated? So if we wait it out, likely that it's gonna try to find some password if our password list is dynamic or good, and if you give it time. Okay. It also depends on how many character in the password. Earlier we talked about long password, complex password, because enumeration, it needs to match per character. So the longer the password, the longer it takes to brute force. Okay. Now, dictionary is only based on how good is your password list. If your password list is very lengthy and very thorough, then your dictionary attack will likely be more successful. For example, if people use like CD names, common words, things like that. A lot of people use curse words. If you go online and look for password lists, there are a lot of like really common password lists that contain from religion to curse words to different things. Okay. Next. And then after a while, you can just hit Control-C to cancel. So here, you can cancel the process. Click on the terminal, Control-C. And it takes a second to stop. Then next, we're going to talk about fuzzing. So wfuzz is only one of the tools that we see if you're using Portswigger Burp Suite. It also have the fuzzing mechanism. There are other tfuzz. There's many more that there are some that are more popular, but wfuzz is designed to brute force web applications specifically. That's why I chose it. And it can be used to find resources like on the website, there might be linked directories or other servers that are connected to it, scripts that they use. So this might be useful in, pen testing. And from an attacker standpoint, this can also be useful in attacks. Okay. So this can also be useful for injection preparation in SQL injection, cross-site scripting, or authentication using LDAP. And it can also be implemented with exceptions and things like that for parameters. So we'll start off with, here it talks about what fuzzing is. Basically, it just enumerates and submit different types of data to test the limitations of the system, mostly on how it would be misbehaving. So instead of testing it within scope and normal brute force, it's going to test it almost at the edge of the scope. So that means that it wants to see the restrictions, the policy that would be in place, and that would allow it to discover vulnerabilities. So I want to show you how you can clone sec lists from Git. So you can go here, and they have a bunch of different word lists that you can find. Also usernames and things online. So this might take a little bit to kind of pull down. And then
Line didn't work here.
what line did not work?
You know, the number 24 said,
Yeah, so you have for 23, rerun the 23 and then add the -d after gzip.
the dash.
Yeah, but you rerun number 23 with the -d after gzip. So you gotta move your cursor and add the -d for decompress, and then 24 will work.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So once we pull down, and this might take a little bit, it depends on your network connections. Also pretty large, right? So I want to show you that you can find username lists, right? Most of the stuff in the industry, people already made it for you. You just have to make it better. So you can find some of the materials and then add your stuff, customize it, and then use it for whatever that you would need. So we gotta do sudo gzip, add the -d lowercase. And then everything else from the original command is the same. Once that is successful, then you can run Hydra.
Sure.
Yeah, so you up arrow key and then use your left cursor button, move it all the way to after gzip. Don't use your mouse because terminal.
This is where I had it. Right here.
No, it's after gzip. So use your left arrow button, move it all the way to after gzip, and then add it, the -d there. Okay, so how far am I? Let's see. Okay, we finished pulling down the sec list. Then what you're gonna do is, because it's under home Kali, you can just simply do, because it tells you here, to do an LSL. Maybe I'm missing. So just do. Why it did not clone? Oh, I have to do a CD home. Well, I am in it. Hold on. Yeah, probably a misspell. That's correct. Oh, sec list. Yeah, so this is what we do. So the fix for this, sorry guys. Let me double check. Yeah. So remove this. There was a slash before sec list. Remove that slash. Make sure that no slash. Otherwise, it will say no directory found, whatever. So LSL sec list usernames. Like that. So for 27, remove the slash after the L. LSL, remove the slash. It should say sec list username.
I did this, so.
Yeah, you still got, so, okay. Up arrow key. In here. One more. Okay, take your left arrow and move it to where the D is. And the dash. One more. Space. Yeah, there we go. Now press enter. No clicking. Okay, good. Now do 24. I took it. Okay, again, 27, move the slash. Then we're gonna run fuzz now. wfuzz. So here we would see that under usernames, you have a list of different username, right? Like common admin base 64. There's stuff that are cloud-based too. So you can also do cat and read the file. If it's text, that's easy, right? So you want to check it out. You can also do cat grep, and then you can filter some of that so you can look at what kind of username that you have there. And then what we're going to do is we are going to run this. So it tells me that it runs into fatal exception, right? Buzzwords and number of payloads don't match. So it didn't work for me. So what did I do here? I'm trying to run the wfuzz, and the C is for color code. You would see some explanation down the line, and then you would use the file. So here, basically, we're adding the option file, and we would point to where the file is. So you just got to give it a path of the file. Otherwise, you have to move that file so that the application can see. Put it in the application folder, right? And what we want is we want to check to see whenever that it has the 404 from this domain, it's gonna try to, because 404 is what? It doesn't respond or it doesn't load, right? It's gonna try to plug in a different word from the word list. Okay. This I already knew that it's mostly it's not gonna be effective, but you would try different commands to see how the system responds so you can have a better picture of the behavior of the web application. So take a screenshot. This should be very quick. It did not match. It says wfuzz might not work correctly when fuzzing SSL sites. And then you want to check. So if you go to their documentation, they have different recommendation, and there are resources on Git and other things that you can refer to. Okay,
In case you do, I wait for 15 minutes or?
just wait a few minutes for it to update the status at least, because you're almost there. All right, then next what we're gonna do is we're still gonna use some other lists from our word list that we downloaded from SecList. And we are going to run fuzz to fuzz, right? Fuzz to Z. This is gonna give you more of a visual effect. But the whole point in this is that you are going to mount the text file of the username. So you say with this username file along with this password file. And it's gonna take those two lists and it's gonna plug them in both at the same time. Okay, this automate the process for us. And then you just point to the target full domain URL. Oh, I forgot the next one gives you more visual. So this, it tells me that it has also a problem with opening file. So to troubleshoot this, what do? I go back because it's using OpenSSL and it might not work correctly. So I fail with these two attempts. Was it attack successful? No, right? Did it not find a match? No. So I need to make sure. You can try different word lists. I think that might work. I thought I had this yesterday. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to do the login, the auto login. So it's still gonna take two lists and it's gonna plug username and password in until tried and true, right? Until it reaches something. I think I might have. I'm pretty sure this one worked. Give me a second. Let me fix it. This is why. Take out the T on the sec list. Right? That one doesn't, it shouldn't have its security list. And then I think this is a capital L. Make sure that this is corrected and then rerun 29. I'm sorry. I had a syntax error for the directory there. So for 29, make sure that we have the right security list folder. Yep, this is what you should see. I was like, why did it not work? It has to be some small error. So you would see more of the visual on how it plugs in different things. I also use something similar to this and Python API. So we're using 200 this time. 200 means success, right? Success get. So as it loads the website, it keeps plugging in username and password. So that's what brute force looks like in the back. So was this, it should say yes, right? I think you have to wait again many hours. It depends on how good of a list that we're using to get a good match. I saw someone had used RockU and another username list and it was a quick match, but you know, when I ran RockU, it barely matched. So because the password for DVWA is pretty simple as well. Okay. So you can just say unknown, because we have to wait for it all to be done to actually see a match, right? Because this list is long. So 29 should work. So now you kind of have a little taste in Fuzzing. All right. Then we would do the login. Make sure that and then you can hit Control C for it to stop. So when you hit Control C, you would see the process request, right? It hasn't given you any kind of filter because it's not done. It did copy it. Okay. We can run this. Let me see. User warning, fatal exception. No such file or directory. Home Kelly sec list usernames. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me troubleshoot this. Top usernames, short list. Oh, such a small boo-boo. Okay. Take out the S and after short list. This right here. This one, delete this. Okay, make sure that we fix this one. You gotta go. Okay, see ya. Okay. Yep. So take out the S at the end of short list. When you run that, it should give you this. This one is short because it's like 17 entries. So you have 17 no match, right? If you have a match, it will tell you that you have a match. So take out the S at the end of short list for the last step. Take a screenshot. How many requests was processed? How long did it take to process? Did it give you time by? Let me see. It didn't really give you the timestamp. You can say a few seconds. So you can definitely use a different list that's longer, like a username list. And then for the 404 earlier, that just hide your 404 message so it doesn't show. Then we're gonna go to OWASP fuzzing, go through, read. It's a short little brief article and you can answer the questions. Then at the end, just answer these questions. After completing this lab, what did you learn about password attack and fuzzing? So you learn how to use brute force tool like Hydra and also fuzzing tool to perform various type of password attack, including brute force.
There's something wrong with number 27.
No. Sec list. Yeah, remove the slash before the S.
For the big S, capital S.
Yeah, remove the slash. Okay. Are we okay? So answer the questions, read the article. Let me take attendance and then you can go. Let me stop.